There is a specific kind of silence that exists in the lives of many men. It's not the silence of peace or meditation, it's a heavy and pressurized silence. It's the sound of a man sitting in his car for 10 minutes after work before going inside. It's the sound of, "I'm fine," when everything is clearly falling apart. Statistics tell us a stark story. Men are significantly less likely to seek mental health support than women, yet they are significantly more likely to suffer the most extreme consequences of untreated trauma and depression. But at the inverse mind, we don't just look at the numbers, we look at the why. Why does a man who would fix a broken engine, manage $1 million budget, or protect his family at all costs, feel paralyzed by the idea of sitting in a room and talking to a stranger? If you're a man who feels that therapy isn't for me, or if you're someone who loves a man who is currently white-knuckling his way through life, this journey is for you. We are going to deconstruct the fortress of the self, explore why the modern therapy model often feels like a foreign language to men, and most importantly, we're going to reframe what strength actually looks like in the 21st century. To understand why a man refuses therapy, we have to understand the armor of masculinity. From a very young age, most boys are given a manual for being a man. This manual is rarely written down, but it is reinforced every day. Don't show weakness. Be the provider. Be the protector. Solve the problem. Over time, these instructions don't just become behaviors, they become a fortress. This fortress is designed to keep the world safe from a man's instability, but it also keeps the man a prisoner within himself. In psychology, we often see a condition called Alexithymia, a Greek term that literally means no words for emotions. It's not that men don't have emotions. It's that many have been trained to ignore the signals from their own bodies for so long that they've lost the vocabulary to describe them. When a therapist asks a man, "How does that make you feel?" it can feel like being asked to describe a color you've never seen. For many men, the request itself feels like an attack on their competence. Their entire identity is built on doing and fixing. Being asked to feel feels like a demotion. It feels like being asked to put down the only tools, strength and stoicism, that have ever kept them safe. The fixer's paradox. Men are, by nature and nurture, problem solvers. If the roof leaks, you fix the shingle. If the car stalls, you check the spark plugs. This fixer mentality is a man's greatest asset in the external world, but it becomes a massive liability in the internal one. In a traditional therapy setting, the process is often non-directive. You sit, you talk, you explore the past, and eventually you find insight. To a fixer, this feels like an inefficient use of resources. Many men refuse therapy because they perceive it as venting without a purpose. They think, "How is talking about my childhood going to help me pay the mortgage or stop me from losing my temper at my kids?" The inverse mind insight here is that men don't hate therapy. They hate the feeling of inefficacy. They hate the idea of paying someone to watch them be broken. Because men are conditioned to provide value, the act of being helped creates a deep sense of cognitive dissonance. It contradicts their internal image as the provider. To step into a therapy office is to admit that there is a problem they cannot fix with their own two hands. And for many, that is a fate worse than the depression itself. The performance trap and the stoic mask. We live in a culture that rewards the stoic mask. We celebrate the athlete who plays through the pain and the CEO who never sleeps. We've turned self-sacrifice into the ultimate masculine virtue. But there is a hidden cost to this performance. When a man refuses therapy, he is often trying to maintain his social currency. He fears that if he admits he is struggling, his partner will lose respect for him, his boss will see him as a liability, and his friends will distance themselves. He is performing strength because he believes his value is tied entirely to his utility. This is what we call the performance trap. The man becomes a character in his own life. He is the husband, the boss, the father, but he is no longer the man. By refusing therapy, he is desperately trying to keep the character alive. He believes that as long as the mask stays on, the world stays upright. He doesn't realize that the weight of the mask is the very thing that is crushing his soul. The fear of the Pandora's box. There is a very specific fear that keeps men away from the therapist's chair. The fear that if they open the door just an inch, everything will come rushing out at once. Many men carry a basement, full of unprocessed trauma, grief for a lost parent, the stress of a failed business, or the quiet shame of not living up to their own expectations. They have spent years, sometimes decades, packing these things into boxes and pushing them into the dark. They refuse therapy because they think, if I start crying, I might never stop. Or, if I admit I'm unhappy, I might have to blow up my entire life. To them, the current pain is manageable pain. It's the devil they know. Therapy represents unmanageable pain, the devil they don't. They chose the slow decay of silence over the explosive risk of the truth. The feminized model of mental health. We also have to be intellectually honest about the industry of therapy. For a long time, the mental health field has been designed around relational and emotional processing, styles that often align more naturally with female socialization. If you tell a man he needs to get in touch with his inner child, he might roll his eyes. Not because he doesn't have an inner child, but because the language feels performative and soft. The inverse mind perspective suggests that we have a translation error in mental health. We are trying to sell self-care to a demographic that values duty. We are trying to sell vulnerability to people who have been survival-trained in fortitude. If we want men to go to therapy, we have to stop asking them to stop being men, and start showing them how therapy makes them better at being men. If you are a man listening to this, or if you are trying to reach a man, we have to change the language. We have to move therapy from the medical category to the tactical category. 1. Therapy as strategic optimization. Stop thinking of therapy as healing and start thinking of it as training. Just like a pro athlete has a coach to look at their film and find the blind spots in their game, a therapist is a consultant for your mind. The reframe: you aren't going because you're weak, you're going because you want to perform at a higher level as a father, a leader, and a man. You are clearing the cache in your brain so you can make better decisions under pressure. 2. Dismantling the fixer ego. The most masculine thing you can do is take responsibility for your equipment. If your car's check engine light was blinking, you wouldn't call it weak to take it to a mechanic. You'd call it stupid to keep driving it until the engine exploded. The reframe: your brain is your primary piece of equipment. If it's malfunctioning, if you're angry all the time, if you can't sleep, if you're numbing yourself with drink or work, you are failing in your duty to maintain your gear. 3. Redefining vulnerability as courage. We've been told that vulnerability is dropping your guard. But in the real world, vulnerability is actually controlled exposure. It is the ability to look at a difficult truth without flinching. The reframe: it takes zero courage to stay silent and tough it out. Anyone can do that. It takes massive, elite-level courage to sit in a chair and say, I don't know how to handle this. That is the inverse truth. The man in therapy is often the strongest man in the room, because he's the only one brave enough to stop hiding. How to reach the unreachable man. If you are a partner or a friend trying to get a man to seek help, you must avoid the pressure trap. If you tell him he's broken or needs help, his fortress will only get taller. Instead, speak his language. Don't use feelings language, so instead of saying, I'm worried about your feelings, try, I've noticed your output is down. You seem tired, and I want you back at 100%. Make it about the mission. Our family needs you to be the best version of yourself, and right now, you're carrying too much weight alone. I want us to find a specialist to help take some of that load off. The side-by-side approach. Men often communicate better when they aren't looking someone in the eye. Talk to him while you're driving, or walking, or doing a task. It lowers the intimacy pressure and allows him to speak more freely. The psychology of the man who refuses therapy is ultimately a story of fear masquerading as strength. It is the fear of being seen, the fear of being useless, and the fear of losing control. But the inverse mind power comes when you realize that you cannot control what you refuse to acknowledge. By ignoring your internal world, you aren't mastering it, you are letting it run you from the shadows. To the man listening, you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders until your back breaks just to prove you're a man. You've already proven it. The next level of your growth isn't more toughness, it's more clarity. When you dismantle the armor, you don't become soft. You become integrated. You become a man who can lead with his head, love with his heart, and protect his peace with the same ferocity he protects his home. If you're ready to stop white-knuckling and start mastering the mind you were given, then subscribe to the Inverse Mind and hit the like button now. We are building a new manual for the mind, one video at a time. I want to hear from you in the comments, especially from the men. What was the moment that finally made you realize you couldn't do it alone? Or if you're still on the fence, what's the biggest thing stopping you? Let's talk about it man to man. Thank you for watching. And remember, the bravest thing you can ever do is admit that the fixer needs a tune-up. I'll see you in the next one.